Started. We should be going live. Wait for it to kick in. Any second now. To Papa. There we go. Hello. How is everyone? How's your week? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How's everything? How's your week been? Hello, Tom. How you doing, man? How's things? How has your week been? Can't speak. Probably because I got an acid tablets in my mouth, but that's fine. Hello, Marcus. How you doing, man? How are things? Hello, Sophie. Hello, Simon. How you doing, man? How's things? Hello, Derek. How's things? Well, I've been asking you, so that's fair. You should ask me. Not too bad. Busy as always. I've got a few projects on the go. Thank you very much, Sort of Delusional on YouTube. But yeah, that's kind of that really. The whole YouTube platform views are kind of down, so it's a bit frustrating, I suppose. But that's life. So yeah, not too bad. I'm sticking with the weekly game streaming. Nice one. What do you recommend for drones? I have relatively limited experience in that field. However, generally speaking, it depends what you're after, right? If you're after a camera platform drone, then DJI is generally the way to go, especially if you're new to the quadcopter world. If you're after a more toy FPV race drone, then there are a lot of good kits. Technically, if you're willing to spend the money, DJI do now sell an FPV sort of race drone, so that's a thing. Thank you very much, Tom. And also, Essentialist, whenever he does turn up, he's now a sub. Thank you very much, sir. But yeah, so for a camera, got it. So then, in that case, a DJI platform drone is probably where you want to go. If you're just starting out, the DJI Mavic Mini 2 is the one I have, and the one that I've paid my own money for, so it's the one that I'm most likely to recommend. With that said, it's what do you call it? It is a very good beginner price point. It's also very easy to get used to and learn on. And so yeah, DJI Mavic Mini 2. Derek, I think most tech tubers are finding that with the views the way the product releases are going. Yeah, indeed. It's weird. Obviously, Intel released a new set of CPUs, and because it was already pre-leaked, well, not even pre-leaked, like, because certain retailers were selling them prior to their even announcement, let alone prior to their launch, there just wasn't much interest. And even the 11400F, normally when that sort of budget CPU comes in, it does really well, but I think because of the chip shortages plus COVID, there is a pretty significant lack of interest in the tech world at the moment, which is annoying, but it does mean that it now kind of gives me a bit more freedom to do projects and things that I want to do. Like, I'm building my own keyboard. When I say building my own, I have this, which is the PCB from a glorious modular mechanical keyboard, GMMK, the full size, and I have the back plate for it here, and the top plate is currently, I would say in the paint booth, but it's in a cardboard box that I've been painting it in. But I've been doing my own sort of customization, so I've added a USB-C port. There you go. Which I am yet to solder in, but it's nice. I 3D printed this enclosure and designed it. And I'm painting the top plate. So yeah, lots to do on this one. But this is fun. I'm using Glorious Panda switches, and I just bought this Razer PBT keycap set for it as well. The Mercury white ones. Let me see if I can get them out. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm up to. The monitor that, the shocking monitor, as you'll find out, I think next week. If you're not already in the Moneymen Discord chat and on, well, the Patreon Moneymen Discord chat on our Discord, you'll find out about that shortly, because it's really interesting. But keycaps. Yeah. Hello, people. Hello, Budgetmensch. Hello, Luca. Hello, Steve. Hello, Yana the User. Hello, William. Hello, User Will. Hello, Hayden. And I think that's everyone. Unless I missed anyone. Oh, Brent. Hello. How you doing? How's things? Where am I at? Opinions on the 3080 Ti. I suppose the obvious answer would be flagrant cash grab. The more nuanced answer is if it means that they can ship more GPUs that they wouldn't have otherwise shipped. You know, ones with a couple cores missing or don't quite clock as high to be a 3090, then I'm not mad. But the pricing is kind of painful. So yeah, there's that. I have a budget of £1,000 for a gaming laptop, and I'm thinking of getting the Lenovo Legion 5, the Ryzen 7, and 130 watt 3060, 512 gig of SSD for 1010. Should I wait for Ryzen GPUs or go Intel? From what I've seen, the Ryzen GPUs don't quite, let's call it, match up, especially in terms of price. So it's, yeah, very variable, but I think that should be a good shout. Obviously, I haven't tested one myself, so I can't, you know, say for sure that yes, that laptop is great. But for £1,000, that's sounds like a pretty decent value proposition. So yeah, go for it. What do you think about the new Rimac? It's insane. I obviously. A lot of people saw the Rimac C1 on fire, thanks to Mr. Hammond. But the what you call it? The C2 I have been, you know, loosely following. Nico Rosberg's doing some videos and some development driving for them, and so that was cool. So then to see the C2 as a production car, it's not the Navara, it's something similar to that. But yeah, that's it's really very cool. It's absolutely ludicrous, the amount of power. If you saw the CarWow video of them drag racing it against Ferrari SF90, the SF90 is not a slow car. That has a total of 1,000 horsepower, some of that coming from electric motors, so it's pretty nippy on the response. And it made it look like it was a golf cart. What? Like, you put that Ferrari next to any other car on the planet, besides maybe a Bugatti Chiron or Veyron, and it would, you know, demolish it the same way that the Rimac did to the Ferrari. So to see what is clearly a full step change in performance, mind-blowing, for sure. How long are the keycaps going to stay wide? I'm not that nasty, but I also work on my car, so probably about 5 minutes. Hello Yanazik, how you doing, man? Greetings from Hawaii. Nice. I suppose that's probably, what, early in the day for you? Just banging my head against the wall with Corsair at the moment, trying to get a hard drive cage to the 4000X. It's harder than trying to get a GPU. Really? I mean, supply chains are what I would call significantly disrupted at the moment, so I'm not overly surprised. And also the amount of work that I had to do to buy some drive cages for the Fantex Enthoo Evolve X, the newer one, the full temper glass one, from my NAS. I'm not too surprised, but at the same time, yeah, damn. Uh, do you think laptops are more bang for buck now that GPUs are too expensive? If you can buy laptops at a reasonable price, for sure. The obvious downside to buying a laptop is the lack of upgradability and the especially if you do leave it plugged in, you are killing the battery. But yeah, it's considering that they're not generally at scalper prices, sort of, it's probably not a bad shout. Love how CCL got called out for scalping today. Nice. I would be surprised if many retailers didn't have auto pricing bots like Amazon does that would increase the price as sales go on. Finally got my desktop running last weekend. I need a new second monitor, or you need 2 new monitors and a new keyboard. It depends on your budget and what the spec of your desktop, especially your graphics card, is. And I assume you're gaming, but obviously it depends on what you're doing. From that front, on the keyboard front, keyboards are such personal preference tools that it's very hard for me to pick one and recommend. My general go-to, just because it's so feature rich, is the Wooting boards, the Wooting 1 and the Wooting 2. But it's totally personal preference, so not a Razer keyboard. I would generally the big name brands, the Asuses, Corsairs, Razers, who else? Potentially Logitech, tend to be very expensive for what you're buying, and you could potentially buy the same thing with the same features, but on Amazon from not a name brand for a third of the price, if that. Ba 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 ba. Can't read. It's 9 a.m. here. Nice. So 11 hours. Damn. That's more than I thought, but fair enough. How's the weather there? Because it's absolutely roasting here. I imagine that roasting here is different to roasting there, but in Britain, anything over like 20 degrees is verging on painful, and it is very painful right now. We do not have air conditioning, and yeah, it's bad. My GPU's a 980 and I'll need it for rendering and mostly Minecraft and Roblox. Gotcha. So I would argue that God, there are so many good options. Depends on your budget and all that jazz, but anything from the come on, brain, the AOC 24 GTU, of which I'm currently giving 2 away. Tomorrow is your last chance, so if you haven't already entered that, feel free. It's locally.link/lowercase s, uppercase I, uppercase R7 to enter. Yeah. That's 1080p 144 IPS. Pretty good colors too. Or If you're willing to go up a bit in price range, then the Acer VG271UP or the Gigabyte M27Q are very nice. David, I managed to get a 3080 Founders Edition into the basket, into my payment details, hit confirm, and the order was cancelled. Customer service told me it was because I bought a 3070 in November 2020. Well, that's interesting. I can understand if your order for the 3070 was about 50 or 100 of them, but a single card and then wanting to upgrade 6 months later, that's probably fair enough. So that doesn't seem like the sort of thing that should be happening. I think I have not heard of that situation before. My immediate suggestion, I suppose, would be that they are going all out on the trying to not sell to anyone who doesn't already have one kind of thing. That would be my immediate go-to position for that, but that's definitely not ideal. What was the first one? It's the AOC 24G2U, 24G2U. And it is, in fact, I'll type it in the chat since you could still enter to win one of the two that I have available through AOC directly. So you can enter the competition, and if I type that right, you can potentially win one of two monitors, as long as you're in the UK or Europe. It's hot. 35 degrees Celsius, no AC here as well. Ouch. Damn, son. Best of luck. I said on here about 2 years ago I was getting a 1060, not long after the 2060 came out. Nice. That does sound about right. Hello Phil, how you doing, man? Also, yes, the Keychron is a very good shout for keyboards as well. I have the K2, it's great. I like it a lot, and it's not insanely expensive like many. So yeah. I'd love to meet the guy that came up with that locally website. Do you know, I think he's a really cool guy, and any creators who happen to use affiliate links should definitely go sign up, because the guy that made it is just great and fantastic. Oh dear. What cheap keyboards have optical switches as fast as the Huntsman Mini Optical? So there are two different kinds of optical switches. The what I call basic opticals, like the Huntsman Mini, which is an infrared beam that gets broken to register that key press. Or there are the more advanced ones, which use infrared beams through a set of mirrors or Hall effect sensors and magnets to measure the actuation or the travel, and you can do some fun things with that. So my go-to example for that would be the Wu-Tang 1, which is a TKL board with the FlareTech switches, which are the ones that have full travel, tracking essentially. So you can do things like adjust the actuation point. So if you want to be finger light typing, or finger light for gaming, but then you want to bottom those things out to game, then or for typing, you can set that up. It also has analog input, so if you want to slowly creep around in games using what is essentially an emulated Xbox controller with your fingers, you can do that. And specifically on the Wooting boards, they allow you to do multiple actions per key press. So right at the top of the travel, that could be W. Then as you bottom it out, that will press Shift and W, and then as you lift it back up, that could press just W again, or it could press something entirely different. There's lots of very cool things that you can do with it, and it's also remarkably cheap for what it is. It might also be out of stock, so if you can find one, that is. Any idea when AMD? Any idea why AMD reduced the amount of CUs in the 5600E compared to the 2200E, considering it's more expensive? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Is the graphics core any different? And also 50... That doesn't make sense to me. William, yes, the Wooting won. Phil, I'm gonna keep my eye out for that, because if I don't find one of those, then I'm gonna buy one on Amazon for like $3.50. I want a Wooting lacquer board. They seem even better. They do seem pretty cool. That's the Hall effect sensor one, isn't it? Which is pretty sweet. I need to upload the emojis to Twitch, because we got plenty on the Discord now, and soon, TM, there will be some in the YouTube chat. Actually, if you want to be a YouTube member, you can get some cool badges for that. But yeah. Hello, Michael. Nice one. Here in New England, we call 100 Fahrenheit hot. That's 40 degrees Celsius, isn't it? Have you checked out Metro Enhanced Edition? It looks next level, those graphics, except face animations and lip sync. I haven't. I generally don't play I generally don't play the Metro games. In fact, I don't think I've ever properly played one. I've benchmarked a few, but I've never really played them. Not quite my style, really. But fair. We've been watching the Netflix series Love, Death and Robots, and it is one of the season 2 episodes with a, what was it, like sci-fi fight, like space plane, spaceship, warship type thing crashes, and the character that they rendered into that legitimately looked real. Like I did not. I thought it was a film rather than a render, but it wasn't, which is insane. Does Love, Death and Robots change the play order for each viewer? I didn't think so, but I'm also only one viewer, so I cannot attest to that. Is 300 amps TDC safe? Which CPU? I'm assuming you're talking Ryzen, in which case 300 amps sounds rather high. Even at 1.234 volts. Sounds like a lot, considering that most Ryzen CPUs run at about 140 watts. Or about 100 amps at 1.4. Why is my house on fire? Probably the 300 amps. How are you doing? Do you know how to install Pop! OS in dual boot, and do you recommend it? When doing the installation, from start to finish, you go to Pop! OS's website and you download the ISO. The one that has the correct graphics driver, either AMD or NVIDIA. You can go to a software called Rufus, which is a USB creation tool, or a media creation tool, very handy. Plug in your USB stick and pick the ISO as the boot media and set it, and then you can let it restart. And where am I at? Once you get into the menu, you can only hit F12 to open the boot menu in most motherboards. Sometimes it's F2, depends, or F8, or any of the keys. Then when you select your USB stick, and that will let you install Pop! OS. It should give you the option to install alongside your existing installation, and then you basically keep clicking next, and that's pretty much it. Do I recommend it? It's a good way to start playing around with Linux. If you don't want to, say, risk in actually installing it, you can just try it, as in boot from the USB stick and not install it, and that is a useful way to have a play without compromising your discs at all. And you can also set up a virtual machine in a program like VirtualBox in Windows if you want to give it a try as well, more directly, without having to install it fully. I have a 3070 upgraded to 1440p mono. Should I upgrade to 1440p first, or get rid of my old 7600K? So the funny balance here is that by upgrading your CPU, you'll get better 1080p performance. But if you upgrade to 1440p, the CPU becomes less important. So personally, I would upgrade to 1440p, and then if you still want to upgrade your CPU later, then you can, but you're effectively getting more out of your graphics card by upgrading to 1440p than you would by not. That makes sense. So yeah, that would be my my recommendation. The Huntsman is £90 on Amazon at the moment. That seems like a reasonable value. The downside is definitely Razer software. But if you're happy with that, then yeah, fair enough. Off the top of my head, I haven't looked at the non-name brand optical mechanical keyboards, so that I can't give you a full and complete answer, but yeah, that's an option. Fair play. Personal aggressive. Understandable. I hope you enjoy it. Why is the 3080 Ti called 3080 Ti? Nice. The insert titanium song. But I currently have a 5600X. Should I get a 5700G? The 5700G is, if I remember rightly, a 5800X declocked and with a graphics core. Sounds about right. Yeah, close enough. Personally, I would rather buy a 5800X instead, unless you need the the graphics core built in. Otherwise, it's sort of essentially a waste of power and silicon to have it on there if you're not going to use it. Although price will depend on that. I don't know what the price for a 5700G is versus a 5800X. What's your favorite mechanical switches? So I am still very new to the custom world. So the only custom or sort of non-standard switches that I have tried are the new glorious pandas that I've just bought for my custom build, of which I am going full custom because this is a GMMK, and I have installed a USB-C port with a 3D printed housing. Quite happy with it. It's not glued in yet, It's not final position. I will be painting it probably, but yeah, I'm very happy with it, and I'm painting the top plate as well. So, but my daily driver keyboard is a Cherry MX Brown from 5+ years ago, pre-patent lift, for sure, and so that is my current sort of go-to essentially. What's your budget for your custom keyboard? If I was paying for everything, it would probably be in the £200 range. Overclocks UK sent me the switches and the bare bones board itself. So I've spent most of the rest of the money on paints, different USB cables, housings, and many other things, and a £35 USB cable, because apparently that's necessary, according to some of my friends. But hey, it's on the way. The keycaps that I bought, ironically Razer ones, but the PBT set, and yeah. So that at the moment. Yeah, another user. I'm afraid I don't. I have briefly seen it, but not. I haven't watched it specifically. Also, hello Harry. How you doing, man? How's things? I'm okay. Usual, but it's fine. Speaking of 3D printing, not exactly tech related, but I've finished printing all the parts for a wearable Mandalorian helmet. The parts are together, all ready to be sanded. Nice one. That's awesome, man. I'll look forward to seeing some pictures on Twitter or the Discord when you're done with it. 250-mile drive home. At least it's in the E-Class, I assume. Do you like programming? Like is a variable word. Tolerate. Yeah. Enjoy. Oh. Yeah, it's in the end it's good fun because you get to essentially solve problems, and it's solving problems is, for me anyway, quite fun. So when you can solve those problems effectively, it's an enjoyable experience for sure. But the actual process of it is normally more painful than it is immediately enjoyable. Right, Phil? No, in the company car and a Mondeo Titanium. Ah, fair. Is that... I haven't looked at Mondeos for about 5 years at least. Are the new Mondeos front wheel drive, or are they still rear wheel drive? Thank you very much. I forgot to buy stabilizers for my new keyboard. Nice. These this actually came with stabilizers. Here's what comes in the box. If I can see, come on. Comes with everything. Really cool. Is writing any program like an intense English test? No, it's much worse. Because one, it's not in English, and two, things that you think should work don't. The rules are very hard to follow, and it's just painful. Yeah. How do you install map mods on an Assetto Corsa? You go to the folder, the content folder, and you just drag it in, and that's it. Have you ever used M5 Stack Core or M5 Stick C? I'm afraid I haven't. I'm old school. I program in C. Nice. I have bodged many things together in many languages. Not many of them worked, but my most recent is generally JS web development locally. So yeah. Where am I at? You can get stabilizers for keyboards. Yes. Or you can get stabilizers for the keys, not, you know, like training wheels off the side. Roll your keyboard around. But yeah, for the keys themselves, yes. My PC crashes whenever I put the RAM to 3600, even though the RAM is advertised to run at that speed. What CPU do you have? Have you ever tried mobile development? Yes, I've written a couple of apps, mostly for myself, but it's pain. I'm suffering learning Python. Fair. Python is... it's probably the easiest for someone who hasn't programmed before to get used to, but if you have programmed before, it can be a little confusing. I used to know C++. Nice. I think a lot of things I used to know. But have since forgotten. I think I was a C# kid, so I never really got to grips with C++. Now the closest I get is scripts in Windows or PowerShell. That's fair. Yeah, I think if you lived on Linux, you'd be much more accustomed to C++, and you know, writing in scripts and command lines and bash scripts and things. But yeah, that's fair. I have a 3900X and a Gigabyte X570. Got you. So what configuration of the RAM do you have? Is it 2 sticks or 4? Is my next question. COBOL, that's a throwback. I had to write an app for my final year project. It was quite a lot of work. It's a pain. I'm just glad that I've never bothered to try and do anything production, because if it's like when you're writing for one device that you can permanently test on, and the end user is me, I can put up with things breaking for a bit and then I go and fix them. But you know, if I couldn't imagine trying to write production on that on mobile. I program in all sorts: Visual Basic, C++, C#, Python. Have dabbled in Pascal when I was at college. I was also taught Pascal. In fact, both me and Phil were taught Pascal in college, which Pascal seems like the sort of language that was created explicitly to teach programming without actually teaching any useful language. Like, all the concepts are there, but it's just not right. It's just not the same. And Delphi, yes. Well, Delphi was... Pascal was the language you would use in Delphi, wasn't it? Hey, Skype was spelled with that. Yeah, about 20 years ago. Oh, dear. I'm going to be working as a DevOps engineer in a month's time. Should be interested in working with a lot of back-end technologies for development. Nice. That's awesome. Congrats. Any CPU, GPU recommendations for numerical modeling, CFD modeling, trying to build a personal engineering workstation? So I am far from an expert in that field. I have never really ever done it. You know, that's not the sort of workload I would personally do. With that said, off the top of my head, before I recommend anything, Puget Systems do a whole suite of different benchmarks that is fantastic and may have exactly what you're looking for. So do have a look at those guys and see if they've got something. They've done benchmarks on the programs that you're interested in. Generally speaking, though, if the programs you work in have GPU acceleration, NVIDIA is generally the better or the safer bet at the moment, thanks to CUDA, just in general. But if you if they don't have GPU acceleration, then whatever 32 or 64 core Threadripper you can get your hands on is a safe bet. I technically work in cybersecurity now and I love it. Nice. What sort of area of cybersecurity is it? Making the users not do dumb things, or is it, you know, sort of more pen testing? What you into? What's the point of this chat? As the title says, live tech support, live tech chat. If you have any tech questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, if you fancy hanging around, feel free. Otherwise, yeah, that's it really. Will a 30 series GPU board work on a B450F gaming from ASUS? Yes, yes it will. Nothing fun, more or less patching vulnerabilities. Fair play. Important work nonetheless. What's better, the MSI Mag Core Liquid or Kraken X53? Unfortunately, I don't think I've tested... No, I definitely haven't tested either of those. Unfortunately, I would be guessing shot in the dark between them. They taught me Ruby. Who uses Ruby? I think it's pretty heavy on the cybersecurity, or the enterprise side of things. Sorry, I was reading the word cybersecurity on the Twitch chat and brain do disconnect. Any ideas what could be causing input lag when streaming when I'm getting 150 plus FPS in games? Nothing I've tried seems to help. So the great many things to suggest, right? The first one is check your CPU and GPU utilization, especially your CPU utilization while streaming. If your CPU is sitting at 100% utilization, then the potential cause for that would be your CPU is running so quickly that the USB controller cannot send an interrupt to register the key press quick enough for that to be a sensible time. So have a look at that. The other thing to look at is download a program, not like Fraps, OCAT or NVIDIA FrameView, one of the tools that you can measure your performance and then graph the performance over time. And then that will be a good way to see if it is, what you call it, if the input lag is caused by frame drops and stuttering, or if it's caused by something else instead. Why does my monitor go black when I toggle in and out of full screen and different resolutions for about 5 seconds? I think mine does that too. Some monitors handle resolution scaling differently. Some of them essentially drop connection over DisplayPort or HDMI while the change happens, and so it kind of detects it as a new input kind of thing. But it is normal. It's a pain, but it is normal sometimes. Change your alerts from the default. That's fine. Can you give me some to change to? What's safe to overclock on a Ryzen 2200G? I think you're going to struggle to overclock it too hard. But I seem to remember 1.4, 1.45 volts was the maximum that they recommended for Ryzen 1st and 2nd gen. So that. Doesn't USB work by polling and not interrupts? Yes, the USB to the controller does, but then the controller to the CPU has to engage that somehow. So the USB controller is the thing that polls, not the CPU. and then the USB controller can then send that data over the PCIe bus normally to the CPU, or potentially via the chipset depending on how it's connected, and then to the CPU. But the connection from the USB controller to the CPU is normally PCIe. Either way, what I mean is that the CPU is too busy to then register the input from the USB controller. Phil and Ish, can you clean up chat? Remind me on Sunday. Nice, will do. Last question for me. Why does playing in windowed mode feel so much more stuttery and delayed, even though I'm getting like 300 FPS? Does your monitor have G-Sync or FreeSync? PS5 versus PC input delay. Can someone write or explain? I can't hear him. I'm on speakers. So the rendering latency should be similar. However, the difference is often in the controller inputs, because controllers tend, while using wireless, tend to be a bit slower. So, yeah. It is G-Sync compatible. Do you have G-Sync enabled in windowed mode or not? Because that's one of the options in the G-Sync, or in the NVIDIA control panel under Setup G-Sync. You can either have it set to windowed, full screen only, or windowed and full screen. Is Ryzen 5 3600 and a 3070 a good pair? Yes, definitely. The 3600 will be a little on the slow side, especially at 1080p, but if you're playing at 1440, it's going to be a great time. And yeah, that. Windowed mode forces standard Windows settings, which is triple buffered VSync. Good point as well. You can change that in the NVIDIA control panel as well, if I remember rightly. There was apparently 9 viewers on Twitch, which, hello, thank you for watching. But yeah, that's the difference. There's 52 people on YouTube. What is the current price for a 1660 Super in your country? I think it's pretty much out of stock. If you're buying used, then it's a lot. It's painful. It says just for full screen in NVIDIA settings. Interesting. What monitor and graphics card do you have? And are you using HDMI or display ports? So I changed to enable for windowed and full screen. Ah, okay, got you. Yeah, give it a shot. Change that and see if that helps. I found an old screenshot of mine where the first 3 days, I assume 3000 series, were available were available at MSRP. Yeah, ouch. What CPU cooler do you recommend for a Ryzen 5600X? You really don't need much. The Arctic Freezer 34 Esports Duo is my general go-to recommendation. It mounts up really easily and performs really well. Has a nice aesthetic. It's not too loud. Good shout. Should I get a laptop with an RTX 2060? The 2060 laptop chip isn't bad, but depending on price, you might be able to get a 3060 laptop, which is a reasonable bit more performance, for possibly similar money. James, I got the Pfizer dose today. It feels like a very bad hangover mixed with fighting to draw in a street fight. Lots of Advil and rest today. Fair play. My partner's had both doses. I think it was the Oxford AstraZeneca one, and the first day was the first day after was I think it was kind of like flu-like symptoms basically, and that sort of way. But yeah, my understanding is that it's about a day of naffness and then all better. I'm still waiting for mine, unfortunately. I'm too young to get one at the moment, which is annoying. I use a TV as a monitor, and when I turn on my PC, it scales really badly, and I have to manually configure it in the TV menu. Do you know any solution? I have an AMD GPU. Right. So, is it overscan? Like it's overscanning, and you have to manually fix it. In which case, the what you call it? That should be available in the Radeon settings. You can manually set that in Radeon settings, and that should keep it, you know, where it's meant to be. But it will depend on your TV configuration, I think. Hey man, in my country, an 11400F is $175, and the Ryzen 3600 is $235. What do you think is a good value? I've got an RTX 2060 Super. I'm a designer, not a gamer. Gotcha. So in that case, the 10400F is probably a better value for money there. You technically don't have quite as good of an overall upgrade path, but at the same time, it's fine. Hello, Amy. And yeah, vaccine was tough the first day, but second dose was fine, indeed. Phil, say hi. Hello, Antonio. How you doing, man? Do you like survival games? I generally not really. I tend to I have ADHD, which means I get bored very quickly, and so survival games tend to aren't normally able to hold my attention span as much as flying around in GTA or running, dying, and running, and dying, and running, dying, and then whatever the latest COD is. So generally, no. The battle royale genre was, PUBG was probably the closest I got to liking any type of survival game, which I know is not a a valid choice there, but yeah, that's that. Speaking of young, I've got my first student to supervise. Me old now. Nice. How long can I use a PC until it dies? I'm assuming you're talking about a desktop and not a laptop, because if you're talking about a laptop, then the answer is whenever the battery runs out. But if you are talking about a desktop, then there isn't really a set lifespan on most components. So yeah, a very long while generally, as long as you look after it. My Bush TV goes to 130 Hz in the NVIDIA control panel. Looks kind of like, it kind of looks like it is sometimes. What's that about? Interesting. I take it it's an LCD TV. My PC specs. So I actually just did a video. It's now a Ryzen 5900X, currently an RTX 2080. Although I technically have a 2080 Ti that I might swap in, so maybe. And yeah, 64 gigs of 3200 megahertz RAM. 3 NVMe SSDs. One's a Gen 4 1 terabyte, one's a Gen 3 1 terabyte, and one is a Gen 3 4 terabyte. And an AORS X570 master motherboard. I can use my my 1050 for 20 more years. True. The downside to the computer hardware is that it improves over time, and so that is what you call it. That is the downside, but in terms of it outright dying, there's no real problem there. Use a PC until it doesn't get security updates. True, but many people are still using it after that. I'd recommend a game called Scum. I think I've seen some videos on that actually. Does seem interesting. You have 300 hours in it. Nice. Nice one. Glad that you seem to be enjoying it then. Are you excited for DDR5? To a point, yeah. I don't think we are kind of really pushing the limits of DDR4. So kind of depends. But it seems like it's going to be a necessary step change. And so I think that's probably going to be end of the year, start of next year that we start seeing that rolling out. Probably on Intel first, if the rumors that we've seen are true. Have you taken a look at UE5 yet? I haven't properly. I haven't really looked at game development in a while. So that's I haven't really looked at it. Is it actually available to use, like to start building on? I genuinely haven't looked. Have you ever thought about quitting YouTube every day? I really like your channel. Well, thank you. I will not quit YouTube then. No, it's of course whenever you have a significant downtick in views or whatever else there is, you do think about it, but it is very much my livelihood. It's what pays the bills, and it is also very good fun. I get to do, well, dumb things like be sent keyboards to cut holes in, 3D print stuff, and then badly paint things. You know, and I'm technically getting paid for that, so it's good fun. And honestly, just the having new hardware in, testing it out, seeing, you know, understanding things is good fun. He's not allowed to quit YouTube. He's meant to be giving me a job at some point. Whenever I can afford it. Hey, do you fancy writing that script? we can talk about what I actually wanted if you're free after. I have a mate with an HP Z400 X58 workstation. He's turning into a server. Nice. Hurry up and get rich already. Well, all of you lot need to Patreon and super chat more so that I can hire people. TechteamGB Media Group, when will the suite of studio warehouses be? Do you know? I don't know. I hope it's soon. I'll just send you PCs to review every so often. That'll do it. That'll get me sorted. In terms of hardware, I've got an old web server that's been up for 8 years. Nice. It's been a few different front ends, but it's an old Opteron that's got a good UPS. That's the what you call it? Come on, brain. That's the ticket in it. Admooner, are you in Scotland? Not currently. I'm from there though. You're really talented, and I hope you continue making videos for years to come. Well, thank you very much. I've been making videos for, Jesus Christ, it'll be 10 years in February. Which is dumb. I hope I've improved a bit. But yeah, and I have no intention of stopping. In fact, I started a car channel last year. So that's happening. I dragged the track in, but it's not showing on the track track options. Did you drag it into the right place? Like I think it's like content tracks, isn't it? I don't remember. Where's my games drive? That one. Steam, common, Set Corsa. So it's content, tracks, and then just put it in, pretty much. And that's it. I've got a number of aftermarket tracks in there that all work fine. If you want to install cars, they just go in the cars folder. Sometimes you've got to do some other things, but generally that's pretty much it. You peeked in the old Weaver. Oh dear. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, I was wondering if you know anything. I hope I do. Is there any way I'm able to buy a brand new gaming PC but pay it off monthly? Yes, a lot of system integrators, depending on where you are, but if you're in the UK, Overclock UK, CyberPower, Scan, a number of them offer financing deals where you can, pay off a financing deal monthly. So yes, you can, for sure. I got it from Race Department. Yes, that's where most of the mods that I've downloaded are downloaded are from. You put it in content and track, then it's the track name and the files in that, and it didn't work. Fair play. If you want to post in the Discord, I can have a look and see. Oh dear, that's funny. And you can download UE5. Fair. I might have a play with it. See if I can do anything interesting. Not sure what to look at. Also, is financing a bad thing to do? Personally, I don't like financing things at all because you're spending money, either spending money you don't necessarily have outright, or you are paying off interest on that balance, which unless it's interest free, you're essentially paying more money for the same for the privilege of not having to pay for it all at once, which is not a privilege I care for personally. With that said, especially with the astronomical prices at the moment, it's potentially not the worst idea. Although again, I come back to my personal ethics would be, if I can't afford it outright, then I probably shouldn't buy it on finance, because if I can't afford it outright, then I would be inclined to potentially miss a payment, and then that and potentially other things may go away. Obviously, the exception is a house, because I don't have £300,000 lying around to spend on a house. So yeah. I'll remember to find some Scooby snacks for the weekend. And yeah, PayPal credit, Klarna, they're all options if you want to do that as well. I'm really enjoying my PC right now. Nice, that's awesome. That's what they're all for, right? For a change, the PC's working for me, not the other way around. Indeed, and that's a fantastic build. So, yeah. Saw a video from Wolfgang's channel about turning an old laptop into a server. Wonder if getting an old gaming laptop and doing that is a good idea. Potentially, you might want to disconnect the battery from the inside if it's going to be permanently connected, but I don't see why not. Limitations would probably be dust buildup and therefore thermals, but other than that, it's fine. Don't have $1 million lying around yet. It's only been 10 years. True. One day. I think the main problem with finance, especially in tech items, is you end up owing more than the asset is worth, i.e. the value goes down further than the term of the loan. Yeah, very true. Obviously, with houses, they're generally an appreciating asset, so that's a benefit there. Car loans is the opposite way. It's much like having tech financing. They depreciate the second you drive them off the lot. So yeah, I buy my cars outright. with that said, we are now 2 minutes over the usual hour. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, these are what you call it, every Thursday night 8 p.m. UK time. So feel free to hop back next week if you haven't already. Feel free to join the Discord. And yeah, there's also a load of links in the description. There's t-shirts like this one that I designed. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Have a good week. Stay safe.